I don't know how many of you have actually done group teaching. I would assume you have, but you know that when you get children together, if you can keep it an experience of discovery, you've got them. You know, like if you just have one student and you ask a question, the student doesn't know the answer, you got to give it. If there are two children, one of them will at least learn it, you know, or share it with the other. So there's an excitement that builds. And I guess everything that Julie was saying, and Cindy also, is to play expressively. Composers don't write notes. And I put together this little sheet that you have called Interpretive Concepts for Music Students. And I literally talk through these at given times with children. You don't give them the whole thing at once, but the musical language is like the reading of the notes and the chords and scales and warm-ups and things. But composers don't write notes, they write musical ideas. So that, for example, if I'd ask you to read this, you wouldn't say I-N-T-E-R, you know, you'd get the word. So I think the important thing is from the very beginning, as Julie was illustrating with Frere Jacques, there are patterns, and those are the building blocks of music. And these need to be played musically, so learning that from the very beginning is exciting for children. And like when all their Federation critiques came back, for example, not one judge missed commenting on how musically the children played. I've heard auditions myself, and sometimes you know, there's so many notes that come at you, but to make sure they're musical, that's what really sensitizes children and makes it a worthwhile experience. So the Solo Adventures collections that I put together really have that kind of as a background thinking. How do you get children to play musically? There are pieces in different keys and modes and positions. Like for example, when they do their warm-ups on C, they can do that easily with a flat hand, as you know. As soon as you put them into a key that needs a sharp in the middle, D or A, their hand comes up immediately. So, you know, to stress that importance of this is what your hand should look like, even when you play the C pattern. And then be able to do that musically. So, for example, folk songs are constructed with patterns that are so lovely. In the first book, I would just like to illustrate Winter Goodbye, the German folk song. There are two little ideas. This is one. Then it's repeated. Then there's a new idea. And then what is this? Sequence. Then we have that original idea in inversion. And then the original again. They're constructed so beautifully, and you can help children learn this. Give you another example just of observation. The first class a couple of years ago, I had little 7-year-old beginners, and we noticed that hot cross buns on the 3 black keys is actually an AABA form. A year later, one of the little Sharpies in the group, I had gotten his first little simple classics collection. He came back the next week, was going to play a piece. I hadn't heard him play it. The 2 other students in the class hadn't heard it. So I said to the 2 others, I said, just look at the page before he plays it and tell me what you see. One little gal shot back immediately, it's AABA form. Now, she really connected with that the very first lesson. I was so excited just to know how she had internalized that. So you keep reinforcing it with Old MacDonald or whatever other songs they have, because there are so many that are in that form. But children start thinking as young musicians at their level, and that's the important thing. I think one of Dr. Pace's geniuses was to get teachers like us together to teach us how to work together and how to do this kind of teaching. And then we can model it also for children, because we're collaborators, not competitors. And that's just a wonderful thing that goes over into the whole experience of children playing. Because when you get a group of 8 kids together, there's so many aspects to a musical talent. And we could probably mention 10 of them right here. And in a group, what you have is the opportunity to develop all of those, and that's where the peer teaching comes in. They learn from each other. Okay, one of the songs in the Solo Adventures 3, just as a sample again, I think I'm in the right book here. It's Caravan, which uses a raga. So you can use not only major and minor, or they experience it, but ostinato. And it's easy then to also say, make up your own melody now to that ostinato, using that scale. So there's a lot of opportunity for creativity and expression. And Cindy had asked if I would just share the new book that's coming out. Solo Adventures 3 came out this past year, I believe, and Solo Adventures came out this last week, literally. The first one is Cool Blue Cat. Cindy, would you do me the favor of my buddy who can play a jazz tune with me here? You know, in jazz playing, you've got a bass line, you've got the common chords, and you've got a melody. So if we only have two hands, we sometimes need help. So I start out here with the two upper parts. Obviously a collection for probably middle students, high school students, and wonderful for adults also. They're a fast one at the beginning and the end, and the rest are all more gentle. This is that famous Russian folk song that Tchaikovsky, I believe it was, used in the symphony. This is another very beautiful American folk song, Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair. And I've noted that in slow pieces, and children can learn to do this also, if before that final chord you wait just a moment, create a little sense of pause at the end there. So this gets into some little clusters. He's Gone Away is another. If you're a vocalist, you probably know some of these tunes, but they're not too familiar actually in our repertoire, but they're so lovely. notice too, there are a lot of seventh chords, so it's really kind of geared to the older student. This has triplets, 2 against 3 here. But again, descending sequences. Since last night, so it's a real trigger, especially for a good clear left hand. Just about every measure. Cartwheel capers, and if you think of it as trying to do that, it'll express this.